Good evening and happy Sabbath, Covenant Advent Church. And good evening and happy Sabbath to those of you who've joined us online. Welcome back for our evening health seminar. I pray that your Sabbath that you've spent has been a blessing and that you will enjoy the fellowship we have in the remaining hours of the Sabbath together. We will start with hymn number 435. I'll ask you to please turn your hymnals to hymn number 435. This will be our opening hymn, number 435. When all my labors and trials are o'er, and I am safe on that beautiful shore, just to be near the dear Lord I adore, will through the ages be glory for me. Oh, that will be glory for me, glory for me, glory for me. When by His grace I shall look on His face, that will be glory for me. When by the gift of His infinite grace I am accorded in heaven a place, just to be there and to look on His face, will through the ages be glory for me. Oh, that will be glory for me, glory for me, glory for me. When by His grace I shall look on His face, that will be glory for me. Friends will be there I have loved long ago. Joy like a river around me will flow. Yet just a smile from my Savior I know will through the ages be glory for me. Oh, that will be glory for me, glory for me, glory for me. When by His grace I shall look on His face, that will be glory for me. Amen. I will now turn the program over to Pastor Lloyd Grubb, who will be presenting the health seminar this evening on oxidative stress.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to this evening health presentation. We'll be looking at oxidative stress, and without further ado, we'll go ahead and pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I'm thankful, dear Lord, for your continuing blessings in our lives. Thankful, dear Lord, for the way you lead and guide and to teach us how, dear Lord, to take care of these machineries that you have built for us to exist. Pray that you may bless us, dear Lord, and may we be faithful to our care for our happiness and our well-being, and your praise, honor, and glory. This is my prayer in Jesus' name, amen. So I'm looking here with you at oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is what we're looking at here, and this would be a continuation of, I would say, of last Sabbath. So last Sabbath we look at antioxidant, we look at how well to take care of your body. So today our topic is oxidative stress, and as you see on the board, the slide on the board, they are showing what is it that we need to have. You know, God created us in a garden, and the thing that we really lost was not stored food. So we're not talking about wheat and all that type of stuff. We're talking about food that is easily perishable, and this is what we really need. And the more we have this, is the healthier our bodies are. And we have gone to a food that is a survival diet, where we consist of mainly animals that are, dead carcasses. And the more we eat that, is the faster we age, the more we have degenerative diseases, and the more we have a problem that when we do get sick, we do not recover well. So oxidative stress is what we're looking at here. So I have quite a few reading for you just to kind of explain to you what's going on. And remember, everything that we're talking about here, it's related to not just in general disease, but primarily we're talking about coronavirus as a backdrop, because a lot of the problems with coronavirus can be simply dealt with some of these mechanisms that we deal with from day to day. And when you have comorbidities, it makes it more dangerous. So I'm going to pull this from Wikipedia here, just a quick definition of what we're talking about, because we're really talking about solutions, but just kind of intellectually browse a little touch onto what is oxidative stress. So oxidative stress, and you could just read along with me here. Oxidative stress reflects an imbalance between the systemic manifestation of reactive oxygen. So that's the oxygen we breathe in, or anything that can break down the system. We normally call this free radicals, because within what we take in or breathe in or interact with or eat can cause stress on our body and cause us to get damage or get aging. That's the basic takeaway, but I'll keep reading here. So oxygen, reactive oxygen species, which is free radicals, and a biological system ability to detoxify the reactive intermediates or to repair the resulting damage. So whatever it is that's causing damage within our system, whether it be a simple venom of a snake and our body's ability to detox itself of that venom, or it could be inhaling smoke of any sort and the damage that it could have upon our body, upon various different organs of our body. And so when we're talking about any type of virus, that's what it's doing. It's basically damaging the system, and it's how the body is able to handle the damage that is being thrown its way and to detoxify itself, to cleanse itself and release that damage. And or repair the resulting damage. You get a mosquito bite, and it could be, it could be damage to the system that the body cannot recover fast from, and it gets inflammation. The inflammation goes out of control. So what your body can do, you try to assist it. More on that later. So disturbance in a normal redox state of cells can cause toxic effect throughout the production of peroxides and free radicals that damage all components of the cell, including protein, lipids, and DNA. And before I go to that, so you can see where virus like a coronavirus comes inside its cell and start to take it over and use it to replicate itself. But also you can find that when a person has a lot of free radicals floating in their body for whatever cause from various different sources, it can cause low density lipoprotein to basically decay, fall apart, die, and then sort of cause a chain reaction and damage other systems within the body. And so you want to be able to stop it, or you want to be able to cleanse it, clean it out of the system and get it out of the system. So this can go as far as causing DNA damage. Further, some reactive oxidized species act as cellular messenger in redox signaling. Thus, oxidative stress can cause disruption in normal mechanism of cellular signaling. So the cell needs to be able to send information back and forth. This can be affected in a negative way. In humans, oxidative stress is thought to be involved in the development of various different diseases, including ADHD, cancer, Parkinson, Lafora disease, Alzheimer's disease, osteosclerosis, heart failure, myocardial infarction. So I pause there because when we're talking about something like a coronavirus or diseases like that, many persons are dying because they have heart failure, kidney failure, liver failure, some failure. But most of these failure has to do with the blood coagulating, or the blood getting blood clots. And as the blood get blood clots, the blood cannot flow. And as it cannot flow, then you have all these different organs failing. So the whole aim is how to keep this from happening. And this is what this study is about this evening. So Fragile X syndrome, sickle cell disease. And so if you have sickle cell disease, then you would have misshapen cells. And now you probably have to be on certain things like magnesium. You have to be on zinc, high amount of zinc, magnesium, whether it be dietary or supplementation, and certain other herbs and stuff like that to help deal with it, because you have a problem where this is causing pain, lethargy, all this type of stuff. Anyhow, license plainus vit lake vitiligo, autism, infections, chronic fatigue syndrome, depression. So a person could be depressed because the system is just depressed, and they need something to pick them up. And that's why I was covering a few weeks back where I was saying you could have a person having problem with depression, and what they need is some good food and some different socializing, some different way to get them going, but they don't know this, so they're trying to fix the problem in various different ways that won't work. So depression has seemed to be characteristics of individuals with Asperger's syndrome. However, reactive oxygen species can be beneficial as they are used by the immune system as a way to attack and kill pathogens. And so just think about this whole thing, and again, it's not a presentation on that, but it's important to note that when you have something wrong going on in your system, there's these messengers that are sent to the immune system to tell it to fight. So these messengers are important to tell the immune system to fight, and there's also start what they call a cytokine storm, where start the inflammation and set the system up for fighting and sending messages to come and fight. Well, that is what end up killing a lot of people, because they end up it gets out of control. And so you want to be able to not make this get out of control. So we continue with the definition here. The best studied cellular oxidant are the enzyme superoxide dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase. Sorry. Less well studied, but probably just as important, is enzymatic antioxidants, and they list them there. And these are more and more studies going on about that. So later on in the study, I'll show why I think certain nutrients are needed to help with this, and why you will need a high amount of certain nutrients to help with the production of things like glutathione. All right? So that's why I put that there, not to confuse you or myself. So read along here with me again, a little bit more information just to kind of set up what we're talking about here for this evening. So oxidative stress, key player in severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus. And this was published this year, if my memory serves me right. I always copy my dates. So this was in PubMed. This is in the National Institute of Health publication. So notice here, talking about coronavirus, what's going on now. It says the emergence of viral respiratory pathogens with pandemic potential, such as severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus, SARS-CoV, the pathogenic agency of COVID-19, so this is recent, represent a serious health problem worldwide. Respiratory viral infections are in general associated with cytokine production, inflammation, cell death, and other pathophysiological processes, which can be linked with a redox imbalance or oxidative stress. These phenomena are substantially increased during aging. So as you get older, these similar situations that seem to be like pushed on by coronavirus are something that we deal with on a daily basis as we get older. So what coronavirus does is almost like it accelerates these functions or these problems, and it causes them to get out of control faster. But so that people would normally die from this type of scenario, but it increases it when you have a viral that increases the load. And so I'm going to go back over a little quick thing what it says here, just to give you some idea of why we want to address oxidative stress, the stress that's coming in your body because of oxides or anything that's going to be free radical or anything that damages the system. Notice again, so cytokine production, when cytokine production is happening, this could be happening because you have an injury, you have some type of poison, you have something going on. But when it's normally associated also with inflammation. So the cytokine production means the immune system is trying to fight. It's also associated with increased inflammation, so they're swelling. So normally as people get older, they start to have aches everywhere, they start to have swelling everywhere, they look more puffy in their face, and they look like, in general, they just look inflamed. So it's important to deal with this, as if you're planning to live at least. Important to deal with this because what it is, if you're already inflamed and you have inflammation running out of control that's affecting various different organs and parts of your body, your whole function, if you don't deal with this, then say a disease like, say, the coronavirus comes along, what happened it increases those inflammation because it itself going to cause its own set of inflammation, its own set of blood clotting, and its own stress on the body. And so it's going to add to your already stressed situation in your body, and it's going to overpower the system, and it's going to hard to take down that inflammation. So it's always best, as they say, to prevent than to try to cure, because when that inflammation gets out of control, now it's even harder. So if you're having a hard time, as they say, running with the footmen, running with the horses is going to be difficult. So you deal with the inflammation now. So everything we're talking about here is not so much how to treat coronavirus, it's how to treat the current inflammation you have, to address them. Don't ignore them, because these are things that happen normally. So, and it gets worse as we get older. And that's where many people you see they're in so much pain, because the whole system is inflamed. So you have to have a dietary change and lifestyle. So notice here, cell death. So the cell is basically just collapse, die, faster than it's supposed to. So say the cell, I used to be able to remember this, but the cell is supposed to say it's supposed to last, say, a month as an example. And now it's dying faster, it's dying in a year, dying in a week. So your system now starts to show the wear and tear. So you want to limit the wear and tear on your system. Also, other pathophysiological processes that are going on that are just part of your day-to-day function. In other words, there's things that we do that we just have to do. You go for a walk, you go for a jog, you lift something, all of a sudden the system can't recover from that. It goes inflamed, you're having back pain, so forth. You're thinking, oh, just because I lift something, I have back pain. No, it's your system not repairing fast as it would, because before, when you were younger, you would lift that thing and you don't have a problem. If you did have a problem, it recovered within a day or two. Now you're taking a week, a month. We need to address it, and this is why you're here this evening with me, or you'll watch it later on. So again, another article here. This was written in April 19. I'm putting those dates here because I want you to understand this is the latest information on what it is. So remember when coronavirus started, many people were saying people are dying from the comorbidities. And what they don't understand is not the comorbidities that people are dying from. It's the dying from the inflammation that disease causes, because it is causing a set of inflammatory processes. And by doing that, you already have inflammatory processes that's probably out of control, especially in people older, and it just overwhelms the system. So notice here, is there a connection between deep vein thrombosis and COVID-19? Now, what I should probably say, deep vein thrombosis are what you call blood clots in the vein that basically normally is in the foot or in the legs, and it's in the lower extremities, and it could create very swollen hardness of the vein, and it's basically a clot that's built up in the veins in the lower part of the body. And then what it could do, it could get dislodged, then get to your lungs, and then you could end up dying. So this is something that's been happening a lot when it comes on to people who have coronavirus. So it shows that the coronavirus is doing its own thing. Now, if you already have problem with your heart, and then now you start to have blood clots where the blood is not flowing properly because of the coronavirus shooting out so much blood clots, then it overwhelms the system and you end up dying. So it shows all of this proper new information coming out, showing that it's doing its own thing. It just adds to the already high blood pressure or problem that somebody might have that is already there. If the person having kidney problem, liver problem, whatever it is. Notice here in this article, this is taken from podiatrytoday.com, written by Wendy Cole, all right? And notice it says here, as is the case for so many aspects of COVID-19 pandemic, information on clinical complication caused by this virus continue to emerge and evolve in real time. The majority of patients who have tested positive for COVID-19 present with symptoms of acute respiratory illness, including fever, body ache, lethargy, dry mouth, breathing difficulty. However, it appears that the novel coronavirus may impact more than just the lung, especially in severe cases. Clinicians from around the globe report kidney damage, liver dysfunction, heart problem, most recently issues with blood clot such as deep vein thrombosis, DVT. These systemic complications appear to increase patients' morbidity and mortality. So notice here, you already have problems with inflammation because, as I say, you probably heard many people are saying, "Oh, this disease is not real," because what's really going on is that the person is having is dying because of the comorbidity, but they were living all the time with the comorbidity, and they would have probably lived 10, 20 years with the comorbidity. But this disease now creates more problem with blood clots. And one of the examples of that is the deep vein thrombosis. So vein that is in your legs and so forth. And this now creating its own set of problems and is exacerbating the other morbidities or comorbidities. These systemic complication appears to increase potential morbidity and mortality. In recent days, this issue was thrust into the media spotlight with coverage surrounding the April 12, so now this is over a month, month and a half or so. April 12 leg amputation of Tony Award winning Broadway star Nick Cordero, who developed a deep vein thrombosis during an intensive care unit hospitalization for COVID-19. So this is a gentleman that looked like he's in his either late 30s, early 40s, or something like that. I can't really tell. But he's been on the news much because he's famous, well famous, I guess, enough. And he actually had to amputate. And what a part of what he does Broadway productions where he dance and sing and all that type of stuff. So losing a leg is really a bad thing for him. And so, but he's still having a rough time. He's have ups and downs since he's been there. But the problem is the blood clots, and because the blood clot was so out of control, they had to amputate. So this is showing you that the disease has its own unique set or own unique fingerprint, as they would say. Now, continue here. Deep vein thrombosis occurs when a blood clot forms in a large vein, usually in the calf. Swelling, pain, and serious complications such as pulmonary embolism or a sudden blockage. So the pulmonary embolism is when it dislodges and it gets up into the heart, into the lungs, and now you have a pulmonary, a lung problem. So sudden block in the lung can occur and make DVT a potential fatal condition. Thus, rapid treatment is imperative. The use of venous duplex ultrasound enables clinicians to screen patients for whom there is high clinical suspicion of thrombosis. So this is literally what they're seeing, whether it be blood clots in the brain and other parts of the body, and it's affecting diverse different organs. So at first, everybody was saying it was only a lung problem, but some of the lung problem they're having is basically because of all this blood clot and stuff like that. Almost there in this article here. So notice here, patients admitted to the ICU are at an increased risk of thrombolytic events due to multiple comorbidities, invasive tests and treatments, and prolonged immobilization. Physicians can attribute the elevated problem of DVT, deep vein thrombosis formation, to Vicos triad, which consists of three major risk factors: venous stasis, vessel injury, and hypercoagulability. So again, easy for the blood to coagulate or to get into a blood clot. So notice here, the incidence of DVT during an ICU stay reportedly range between 5 to 15%. The COVID-19 virus induced an hyperinflammatory state. Sources suggest that systemic inflammation increase endothelial injury, which we covered that when we did the coronary artery problem, thus will activate the coagulation cascade and impair fibrinolysis with disruption of the endothelial barrier and the loss of physiologic antithrombotic factor. This may significantly elevate the risk of DVT. So what's that's happening there is that the disease itself is a disease that causes high amount of blood clots. This is, I guess, the best colloquial way to describe it. And as it increases the blood clot, what it is that any type of organs that have to use all the blood, which is almost all our organs, the liver, the kidney, the heart, the brain, end up having blood clot and the person die. That's why they noticed, I think it was in Scotland, that 31% of the patients who had coronavirus died because of their comorbidity was dementia. So this is where it starts. You start to realize, okay, so what exactly is the disease doing? Because they're not dying because they have a heart problem or they have a liver problem or a kidney problem. Comorbidity-wise, they have something, a weakness in the brain, and so the the blood clots take out whatever is weak in the system. But the problem is literally disease. It's a disease that has to do with the endothelial cell shooting out blood clots and causing problem. So notice here another article. Now this article here is going to show why we're here talking about oxidative stress and why you need to address this, and so that when you have a disease like coronavirus, when you do catch it, that it doesn't give you a hard time or limit the destructiveness of the disease. And notice here, this is taken from CIDRAP, and this is, I can't remember the university there, but it's right there. You can see the link, and it's written by Mary Van, her name right there. So autopsies of COVID-19. So this is an analysis of 12 patients that they did autopsies on. So autopsies of COVID-19 patients reveal clotting concerns, and there, notice says here, a study of autopsies find of the first 12 patients who died of COVID-19 in hospital in Hamburg, Germany, has found that 7 of the 12, 58% of them had undiagnosed deep vein thrombosis, suggesting that the virus may cause abnormal blood clotting. So 7 out of the 12 had deep vein thrombosis. So what it is now, there's a problem. So this is the problem. This is where I notice now, this is now we're current. We're getting up to speed now. As the disease get more studied and as the bodies get more studied that are coming out of these autopsies. And I watched a video of one of the doctors that did some of the autopsies, even though people are saying not to do it because they still were trying to figure out what this disease is doing. It reveals there, and you can see pictures of the very different blockages of the veins. So notice in the prospective cohort study published yesterday in the Annals of Internal Medicine, researchers discovered that the direct cause of death in 4 patients was massive pulmonary embolism from deep vein blood clots in the leg that lodged in the lung artery, causing a blockage. So very important. So notice here, this is a unique thing in itself that the disease is doing. So a percentage of all who died from a massive blood clots right in the lung. So this is why we say we want to deal with all inflammation, all things that cause oxidative stress that end up pushing this onward to creating this stress cascade. Continue with the article. So notice here, high viral RNA load, abnormal lung finding. Notice here, high concentration also is found of COVID-19 genetic material were detected in the lungs and also in the liver, kidney, and heart in 5 of the 6 patients who had moderate viremia or COVID-19 virus in the blood. All had abnormal lung CT scans finding, and 8 of them, 67%, had alveolar damage, indicating early acute respiratory distress syndrome. So where the sacs are supposed to pick up oxygen, are supposed to release oxygen into the blood, I should say, as you breathe, they were damaged and they were not working. So this is saying that the disease is in the lung, and this is where it starts. This is why when people say, well, if you put on a mask, you go kill yourself. Well, if you inhale a virus and you already have oxidative stress high in your life, or you have a lot of swelling, you can almost guarantee that this is going to happen. Another point here from the autopsy, most lungs were congested and heavy, all right, with a maximum combined weight of 3,420 grams or 7.5 pounds in one patient, which is whopping. The lung was just being filled with water. Mean and swelling, just tissue and all that. You see why in a second. Mean combined lung weight was 1,988 grams, which is 4.4 pounds. In comparison, standard lung weight for men is 840 gram, 1.4 pounds, and 639 grams, 1.4 pound for women. Right, so 1.9, 1.4. Only two patients had relatively low lung weight, which is 550 and 890, which would be relatively normal, close to normal. So you see what's going on there. So the lungs were not being able to remove like water. So that's why I've talked to people. If I say, if you start to have not only swelling, but you feel like you're having water being gathered in your leg, you know, your foot, your leg, your feet, your legs, you have a problem, and you need to start doing some of the things we're going to talk about at the end of the seminar to try to get your system flowing again, because something is clogging the flow of your system, and it's most of the time is inflammation. You have inflammation going on there. So notice here for men, it was no, one person had, on an average, they had 1,988, which would be 4 points. So the lung became heavier by twice the size. So you can imagine trying to, for it to breathe, that would be a problem. And there's something else I'm going to read in the next paragraph. And then, so it get heavier, but one person had 3,007, so the lung got about almost 4 times its weight. That would be so difficult for you to breathe if that happened. This is unbelievable stuff here. So you can see this disease is doing a terrible, remarkable job. Now notice here, in many cases, the lung showed signs of mild pleurisy, inflammation of the thin layer of the tissue that separate the lungs from the chest wall, as well as a patchy pattern consistent of pale area contrast with slightly protruding, firm, reddish blue areas with high capillary to fiber ratio. The lung was firm but crumbled easily. So when they, I guess, handle the lung, I know somebody that always described to me how he likes feeling the lung in his hand because it feels so nice, and he described it a certain way that is fascinating. But they said the lung was firm now because it was so swollen, and probably, I'm assuming, swollen with fluid, and it would fall apart real easily. So this is what the disease is doing. So you can see the disease now is making a very definite pattern to a lot of stuff that we've been talking about when it comes on to deal with inflammation, deal with oxidative stress, all this type of stuff. Notice here, that's why I believe one of the top herbs that one should use is pleurisy. I covered that in the past for the coronavirus seminar, because what happened when you breathe, the lungs is actually moving, I should say, really in the back and so forth. The lungs is moving, and that sliding action, if the pleurals are if that sac or that, I don't know what you call it, that area around between the chest and the lungs, if it gets swollen, the lung is going to be painful for you to breathe. So again, you want to take down inflammation again. You want to use something like a herb like pleurisy that used historically by Native Americans and Americans to take down that inflammation and help with that inflammation. Last part on the autopsy. In the 10 patients who died in the hospital, initial laboratory tests showed elevated levels of lactic dehydrogenase, indicating tissue damage. So it was actually having serious damage. D-dimer, which indicates blood clots. So you can get this, everything is just getting swollen, clot up. Nothing is moving. C-reactive protein, we covered that before, which is indicating inflammation or heart damage. So C-reactive protein is a test you can get. So here's what I'm trying to say, just in case you miss it. If you already have inflammatory problems, like you have problem with your heart and you have high rates of C-reactive protein, tell me that you have inflammatory problems that are affecting your coronary artery, your circulation. You don't wait until you get a disease like this, because it's going to make it worse. It's going to take where you're at and bump it up, because it is creating its own cascading situation when it comes on to your blood getting thick or viscous, or your platelets start stick together. So what you do, you start to do things, and I'm going to list some of them as we move on, to bring it down. So that, say if you were at 80% capacity, and this thing, all you have to do is just push you another 20% and you're dead. What you want to do, you want to bring down your capacity, and you want to bring down your swelling, so that it makes it easier for your body to fight this disease. So notice here also, as well as mild thrombocytopenia, which is low level of platelets needed for clotting, which is in 4 of 10 patients. Medium age of people that were they did the autopsies was 73, ranging from 52 to 87 years old. 75% were men, so mostly men. Men live a lifestyle that is very what we call it, inflammatory. Even the way they talk sometimes is very inflammatory. And all had underlying medical condition, the most common of which were coronary heart disease and asthma, 50%. So 50% of them either had the coronary heart disease or asthma. So this is why you need to deal with that. I always say to people, the easiest way to deal with asthma, number one way, first thing to do, then after you can do something else, you eliminate all milk, dairy, cheese, anything to do with that type of stuff. You eliminate it and it will start to open up your lungs, and then deal with allergies most naturally. Another thing, medical conditions, underlying medical conditions, all that underlying medical conditions, most common of which were coronary heart disease, asthma, the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, 25%. So out of all those who were doing it, they did on it 25%, or what they say, 3 men out of the 12. I'm assuming men, but 3 out of the 12 had COPD. So this is now time for you to get rid of smoking. Many were obese with a mean body mass index of 28.7 kilogram M2 right there. So most people probably were 50 pounds, I think, or more over what they're supposed to be. So that means, again, this is part of the problem when it comes on to oxidative stress. The disease just makes it worse. The author said that COVID-19 may lead to pulmonary embolism by activating the coagulation system or causing a cytokine storm in which high levels of pro-inflammatory cytokines start to attack the body's own tissue rather than just the virus. Factors such as immune-mediated damage from antiphospholipids, antibodies involved in autoimmune response may also contribute. So if you have an autoimmune disease, cancers, now is the time to start doing some of these things to address it. So remember last week I'd covered antioxidant when I did a seminar with Sister Joyce. So I'm going to read the statement again. This is from last week's seminar, just to kind of give you an idea. What are you supposed to be doing to deal with oxidative stress? Notice an antioxidant is a molecule capable of inhibiting the oxidation of other molecules. Oxidation reaction can produce free radicals. In turn, these free radicals can start chain reaction, which is all what we're talking about just now. When the chain reaction occurs in a cell, it can cause damage or death to the cell. Antioxidant terminates these chain reactions by removing free radical intermediates and inhibit the oxidation reaction. They do this by being oxidized themselves. So antioxidants are often reducing agents such as thiols, ascorbic acid, which would be like a vitamin C, coming from mostly citrus and other things like that, or polyphenols. Oxidative stress now, which is what we're studying, is thought to contribute to the development of a wide range of diseases, including Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, pathologies caused by diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, neurodegenerative disease, and motor neuron diseases. So when you already have one of these problems, and then now you take on the load that the oxidative stress that coronavirus or similar virus had, then you can see why somebody could die. And then people think that the person is dying because of the comorbidities, but they don't understand it's just simply what the virus is doing because it's infecting the system. It's causing you now to have so much oxidative stress going on in your body that it overwhelms the system, and the system trying to save itself, do something like a cytokine storm, and it end up causing so much more inflammation that the system just swells up and die. And this is what happened with the lung problems. You can see the bigger lungs because there's an inflammation going on. There's a gathering of water. The blood cannot flow properly. There's no proper oxygen coming out, and so the person end up getting damaged. So what you want to be able to do, you want to take down that inflammation. So this is what we want to do. We want to do it. So these are some of the things already that we know that can cause stress on the body, oxidative stress risk factor, um, and it can be in your environment. So ozone, that's something that it's good for the environment, but it also can be bad when you come in contact with it because it's a super oxidant. It's great to kill everything, so to speak. So if you have bacteria, mold, viruses, pathogens, whatever, you can use ozone as a disinfectant for the air, for the walls, for everything, but not with not you be in the building. Certain pesticides and cleaner, cigarette smoke, these are things that any type of smoke, cigarette smoke, any cigarette, any type of weed, anything that you're burning, anything you inhale and smoke. If they're burning plastic and you see that black thick smoke, that's an oxidant. That's going to cause oxidative stress on the body, and it's going to put your body in a situation where it's going to inflame the body. So this is where people taking drugs end up die early or die young because they have so much oxidative stress on their body that they have so much damage. Pollution. So we cannot stop the pollution in the air because of big industry per se. You can do things in action, but at least you can stop the pollution you eat, so to speak, and how you treat the air inside of where you live. So we're talking about therapy here. I'm getting therapy as we speak. Stress, again, can cause oxidative stress on the body. Have you ever been so stressed out and your hormones just floating, you feel mad, and when you feel you're just exhausted, you feel beaten down. That's what stress do. Other issues can be a diet high in sugar, fat, alcohol may also contribute to free radical production, which will create oxidative stress on your body. So these are things you can address because when you, as I say, you can see a person is very puffed up and just look swollen, feet swollen, and part of this increase in water, start eating more fruits and vegetables, cut the fat, cut the sugar, cut the alcohol all together, and you can see that the inflammation processes start to go down, they start to look younger. Why? Because there's not all that free radical damage. Now, I pulled this from an article that I all of a sudden I fail to remember what it is to give good credit. So this is an article that was talking about oxidative stress, and somehow but anyhow, so notice here, the more oxidative stress the body's under, because remember, fat can be oxidative stress, is the higher the risk for the person to die of coronavirus. And this is what has been shown. Because when a person is getting to a certain point, there's a diet and lifestyle choice that goes around with it. So high carbohydrate, glucose, fructose, high protein, red meat, high saturated fat, this will increase not only body size, but this will make the person that could be even slim and clogged up, and that will end up causing them, like a disease like this will still take them out because it increased the oxidative stress. So, because I've known people that they could be like having blood clog problem, heart failure, whatever, and they're thin because their diet is so junky, but they might not eat a lot, but when they eat, it's just a lot of bad food. And so they have high amount of lipids inside of their system, so their heart is still clogged up. So the disease could take them out, and everybody get puzzled, like, how did he take them out? They're young and they seem healthy, but they just seem healthy. Could have cancer or the underlying problem that's not being addressed. Could have basically other problem with diabetes, and they seem slim and healthy, but their body's not really doing well. So notice here on the left, you have cancer, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular problem. So remember I said to you, as the disease went to Scotland, they find out more people, higher rates of people were dying from dementia than were dying from the other comorbidities that we are familiar with. One of the things I believe, because we have high rates of things like cancer in America, I believe as the disease spread out in the broader population, not just in New York City and stuff like that, that what you find that the cancer will increase. One of the comorbidities that will increase is cancer. That's at least what I looking at the numbers and thinking will happen. So you can hear you can see it here from me here first. So what's going on there? Because the stress on the body for the excess fat, because remember, fat has to break down. It gets old, it gets rancid, and it itself become an oxidant, and it creates stress on the body. And so that's why I want to reduce it. So the more oxidative stress is the more inflammation, the more you become um, insulin insensitive. The insulin doesn't open the cells as much, so insulin sensitivity goes down. Cancer cell proliferation. So the more junk food and junk diet, and the more meat and stuff, is the more cancers. As I say, irrespective of a person's size, but the person's size norm is a good marker. They show that obesity increase almost all cancers. A person could die faster from lung cancer from smoking cigarette if they're obese than if they're younger. In inflammation, also, I'll stop there. So you increase more cancer genes, and it's harder for good genes or good cells to come about. So normally, how we deal with this? From this chart here, this is what we're going to talk about the rest of the time. You increase whole grain, you increase fiber, you increase nuts in your diet, and so you get your fats more from nuts and less from just free oils. You increase food with vitamin C, so fruits with vitamin C, beta carotene, bioflavonoids. You get some good mangoes, some good lycopene from your tomatoes, from your watermelon. There they have fish, but I would say you increase seaweed, you increase your flaxseed, so you get the omega-3 fatty acids, and you eat cleaner proteins, more beans, and you eat legumes. You start to put more legumes in your diet, and this will not only give you more fiber and give you more weight loss, but it will give you a healthier body. So this is what you want to do, and they have shown that less oxidative stress is less free radical being put in the mouth, and you live in your environment, it is less dangerous the disease is. They have noticed, I said, the disease hit people harder in the city, because in the city people smoke inhaling. I was saying smoking, and they're smoking more what we call diesel fuel from the bus and the train, but not smoking, they're inhaling it from day to day. So there's more stress on the body. Sometimes living in certain areas where you don't get to relax, you don't see green often, and so forth and so on. You live in a more stressed environment where there's always violence and stuff like that. People are more susceptible to disease because they live under more stress. So very important, and those are other factors we'll talk more. So nutrients to help with oxidative stress. So you want to increase your berries, cherries, your citrus fruit. That is kind of out of season now, but it's soon be back in. As we go back into the fall and we get back to the time for the second wave, as they normally call it, we'll see. Prunes. Why prunes are so good? Because prunes is high in the ORAC value, but I think why prunes are high in the ORAC value, which is interesting, because I might believe that part of the reason probably why prunes are high in ORAC value is because of body mechanism, not just nutrients. So prunes have like vitamin K and stuff like that, so it's good for life, good for circulation and stuff. And it's good because it has some antioxidants in it. But I believe because prune has high in fiber, and prune has also, I think, sorbitol. And sorbitol is one of the sugars in prune, and it makes you go to the toilet. So interesting. Okay? I've been wondering about that, because you'll see at the end of the seminar that prune is on the top of the ORAC value. Basically, it takes the hit and help clean the system out. And I really believe that why it is because when people eat prune, it's not the nutrients just in prune that make prune so good and make it high on the list. I believe other things are probably better than prune, but because prune gonna make you go to the bathroom. And if you go to the bathroom, because remember what one of these antioxidants are doing, they are trying to detoxify the system. So the antioxidant is trying to detoxify your system. And what prune does, it helps detoxify, because what it does, it helps you go to the toilet. So if you can imagine, the person is not having a facet of metabolism because they're not exercising, they're doing what they're supposed to do. The system gets sluggish, especially as people get older, because they get less active. Well, the system is not flushing itself out. Well, if you eat prune or you eat things like flaxseed, what it's going to do is going to make everything slippery, and it's going to make everything slide out. The faster it slide out is the more you can detox. You can detoxify. So that's just a side note there, but it's just one of my meditation. I always wonder why, but I really believe, as I say, I can't scientifically prove it, so to speak, but that's from my observation. So prune will be on one of the top of the list to eat, as a snack. So if I don't believe in snacking, but if you must snack, if you run into a situation where I need to grab something, grab some prune. And what it's going to do is going to make you sit down, it just get relaxed and everything just flow out. And what that is help detoxify your system because you don't want to be constipated in a situation like that. I think that's part of the problem with people that get coronavirus. They don't start flushing their system. So that's why I believe any sickness, because to me, all of these things is the same thing with influenza. You start feeling sick, first thing I tell people to do, you get laxative. And you flush your system out, and empty your system out, then start taking fruits and juices and soups, go lighter, and keep the flow. Because when you keep the flow, all that stuff don't get clogged up. When I question the ask is that when people come into the ICU, they should probably unconstipate them. Just like flush the system. I know they can't do that, but flush the system out. But for me, that's what it is. If you came to me and you say, look, I'm sick, whatever the sickness is, I'm going to flush you out. It's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get all that fecal matter out of you. And then I'm going to put what I believe you should have inside of you, in you. Because obviously you weren't putting it in, so I'm going to put it in. And whatever going in is going to come back out real fast, and that's going to get the flow going. So that you don't get clogged up with toxins, and all that toxins inside of you, and now you're having more toxin produced because all the dead cell and all the war going on from the white blood cell fighting. And now you're just filled with garbage. And then the lungs now, because you have a cork up your anus, the lungs now is going to have to take over, and you'll try to cough up all that mess. It's going to be difficult, and especially in a hospital. Hospital thinking is never to cleanse. You get me? It's not an indictment. It's just that's just the way they function. They don't cleanse you. They don't purge. They don't detoxify. So for me, the whole process is you want to free up the system, take down the oxidative stress by dumping all that stuff that's in there, and then start to do everything to flush the system out. So normally when you get a coronavirus, you start feeling sick, you go to the doctor, you get the hospital, you get a test, and they say you're sick and they send you home. Now is the time to start flushing yourself. You start flush, you get everything out, you start to have your body detoxify because you're going to be on a lot of toxic load because all that white blood cell is going to be dying. Where is it going to go? You got to help rid it and get it going, and then feed the body other antioxidants to take the hit and go do the fight. Praise the Lord. That's what we need to do. That's how the Lord works, right? He cleanses and nourishes us. That's what you hear this evening. So notice dark leafy green vegetables. Broccoli, we covered broccoli last week. We covered collard greens, kale. These are what you need in your system. And this is not you need in your system because you're sick. This is what you need in your system to keep young and healthy. You want to be like as King Ezekiel. You want 15 more years of good 15 more years. And as he said, I'm going to enjoy 15 more years. But woe to them after because they're going to be massacred. Let them be massacred. But for you, you need 15 good more years. How you get these 15 good years? You get some dark leafy green vegetable on a regular basis. It'll take down the inflammation in your body. Carrot and beets. You juice that with some dark leafy green vegetable. Throw in an apple a day that keep the doctor away. Throw in 10 apples for me. Throw in some extra apples. And you drink that down, you're going to feel your inflammation coming down. You're going to feel your skin. You're going to look in the mirror, man, I'm looking younger. And send me a picture. Some tomato, because tomato have lycopene. It's a powerful antioxidant. You want to be able to have that regular in your diet. Some olives. We had some olives today for lunch. Beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. Just love olives. So those are some of the things you need to be a part of your diet. Those will help take down and keep down the inflammation, right? Some of the things to do on a regular basis to have nuts, as I say, use nuts instead of using free oils as much as you can. So you're making a smoothie, you're making certain things. You use some almonds, some cashews. You kind of mix it up. Whatever nut you can get your hand and throw it in a blender, blend it and drink it. Eat it. Don't overeat it. Probably a handful or two a day. That's about it. Some vitamins to consider. Vitamin E. So best to take it if you get it in flaxseed and other places. I always prefer to take it naturally. Vitamin D3. Now you don't need vitamin D3 because it's sunny and warm outside. So you want to go outside, take a walk. Remember, even if your body's covered, your face right around your nose has been shown in studies that it has vitamin D production sites right around your nose. So you make sure you get Don't burn yourself, but make sure you get some sun on your face. Your body will start making vitamin D. It's amazing. So you know, if you don't have that, you have to work indoor all the time, or you're trying to stay fair. Then what you do, you take some vitamin D supplements. Vitamin C, again, I always prefer the natural vitamin C, orange juice. Get your orange in. Vitamin C, just remember, I call it the glue for the body. The more vitamin C you have in your system, the more oranges and grapes and anything with vitamin C, high in vitamin C content like broccoli, what it'll do, it'll make your skin just come together real nice and just look plump and healthy, right? So you want to do that. High amount of vitamin C inside of your system. Why? Vitamin C also is an antioxidant. Vitamin C is an important key nutrient for the immune system, for the white blood cells to be able to fight. So when you have a cytokine, so a war going on, you're going to have a lot of dead white blood cells. They have to reproduce. Where they're going to reproduce, they're going to need vitamin C to feed them. You want to feed the body vitamin C. This will take the inflammation down because that's what vitamin C does. It's anti-inflammatory in its action. Micronutrients to have: zinc, selenium, magnesium. Magnesium takes down when you have a muscle contract or stuff like that, the muscle is not relaxing properly. The vitamins, magnesium will do this for you. So you want to have things like pumpkin seed and stuff like that. Throw some of that in your smoothie. Throw some of that on your salad. Whatever you're doing, just throw some of it there. You just supering up everything that you partake of. You're just throwing in some. So you just think about you throwing in some pumpkin seed. You're throwing in some vitamin C. No, some magnesium. And you're just making a super smoothie or a super salad. And that's what you want to be eating. You want to eat with that intelligence. You're going to enjoy the food, but you know what you're eating. Throw in there some olives. You're making a salad. Throw those olives in there. Eat some olives. The olives is powerful nutrients to deal with. It's antiviral, microbial, anti-pathogenic, whatever it is. It's just going to heal you. Selenium, important for the immune system. Zinc, very important. Zinc has been showed in glass, in vitro, that it will stop the replication of viruses. And so you want to be able to have some zinc in your diet and eat foods that are high in zinc. Zinc is a micromineral. You don't need a lot of it, but you need it in your system. I don't know why I duplicate vitamin C there again. Important two nutrients that are key when we talk about oxidative stress is that when you have oxidative stress, one of the key nutrients that the liver produces that will take down the inflammation and stop the blood clots or limit the blood clots and limit the swelling or the inflammation is this nutrient called glutathione. Glutathione you can buy as a supplement. Also, NAC is a precursor. You see the next line there to glutathione. The body takes that and makes glutathione in the liver. Well, guess what happened? Your body will produce it in your liver from having the nutrients like curcumin or turmeric as a herb or milk thistle, which is the key ingredient, the number one herb for the liver. So turmeric, good for circulation. Turmeric, good for antioxidant. Turmeric is good for the liver. Turmeric is good to help the body produce glutathione. Milk thistle, number one herb if you have damage to your liver. I just use these herbs on a weekly basis, sometimes daily basis, as just a supplement, just to keep me energized and healthy. Some of the things that I really don't per se use these things, but again, some people they work well for. If you have a severe need, I would say. So if you're a person who have a problem with sleeping, melatonin will help you. If you don't have a problem with sleeping, this is not going to be probably something that's going to cause you. If I take this thing, I get a headache. So you say, why do I put it on there? Because some people get amazing results from it. But it's just not something I think my body needs. NAC is another thing. It's powerful to protect the lungs. Coenzyme Q10 is an anti-inflammatory, good for the heart. So it's good for the circulation. We covered some of these already, but I want to put this up here again. So you have to sometimes, as I say, what work for you won't work for me. As I say, I don't take anything on the second line per se. Because I do milk thistle and turmeric almost on a daily basis. So that's how I do it. But what I understand about the body, and let me explain this to you because this is important to understand naturally. Because people will say, you can't diagnose. You can't really diagnose anybody because remember, I'm talking to you. I don't know all your situation. Does that make sense? So I'm just giving you some general principles for you to go experiment yourself. You experiment and something go wrong, you really can't blame me. That would be unreasonable. Here's why. Because you say you're a person that always stay up late at night, and you don't sleep properly at night. You go to bed 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. To break that habit is going to be a hard slug. You're going to have a hard time. Because you've been doing it for so many years. So I could be telling you something, and I could say, do this, and I say, take valerian, take hops, take holy basil, St. John's wort. It will help you with sleep. You take it, it do nothing for you. Why? Because you're just so out of whack, and your system is so far gone. I really don't know. I can't know because I don't know all your circumstance. And you might take it, it don't work, and you take it for 2 weeks, it don't work. And what really happens is that you probably need to take it for 2, 3 months, for probably a year, for it to slowly start making you like, oh, I feel this thing is working. Because your system is so far gone that it's not going to help. And it's not going to help today. It might help 3 months from now, it's not going to help today. And most people don't understand this. This is why if you listen to this morning's sermon and midday service, most people are not patient enough to build back the system slowly. They want a quick hit. So a quick hit, you could be melatonin. So you take the melatonin and it gives you a quick hit, but this can be habit forming. And also, it can, after a while, become a problem where you start having some type of side effect because it's potent. So I would not say never to use something like that. I would say probably you start out, but no, you're going to have to cut it off probably in a month or so. And then start just using natural herbs and start forcing yourself to go to bed and pray. I tell people if you can't sleep at night, you go to bed, you lay in the dark, turn off the light, go to bed, make the posture that you're going to bed, and then start praying to God. And you'll find out halfway in your prayer how long you're going to pray for. You're going to wake up in the next morning because you're going to probably bore yourself to death or something. You're not going to be able to concentrate, and then you knock yourself out praying. Just go pray to Jesus. All right? It works. So I hope you understand that. I'm just giving you as an example because I'm always fear. They say you have to make things for people who are, everything for dummy. Those yellow books? Because people just become ridiculous. But I just want to explain to you, when I'm doing these seminars, I don't know your full situation. And your situation could be so extreme that you probably need something that kick in the pants to get you going. Why somebody just don't need it. So it's impossible to give you a full understanding of what you're doing. You have to know your situation, listen to what I'm saying, and say, no, I don't need 1 month of this. I need like 3 months. I'm a mess. Or no, I don't really, I'm not an extreme. I have a problem, but it's not that bad. Probably some simple herbs or probably, some smoothie or something will help me. And you do it and they help you. You're like, hey, praise the Lord for you. 2 other points there. Hopefully that was clear enough. It's not clear enough. Ask me in the end to clarify what I'm saying. Or probably I missed something. I'm just simply saying these things are good, but it might not everything work for you. You might not need zinc. Probably you need some vitamin C and you could catch any disease and you overcome it. I don't know. But as you know, in general, zinc will stop the replication of certain RNA viruses. So it's good overall. But probably you have sufficient amount of zinc because of your diet and what you like. And somebody is deficient in it, so it won't work for them. That's a side note. So back to what I'm talking about here. So as we talk about oxidative stress, one of the things to have as your diet and also as a supplement is onions. Onions and garlic have this supplement that I've been put here that I probably should put abroad is quercetin. Quercetin is what they call an ionophore. It concentrates zinc inside the cell. It pulls zinc inside the cell. It works almost like insulin, where insulin pulls sugars into the cell. The quercetin, which is in onion and elderberry and garlic, will suck or pull zinc inside the cell. So what it is, it'll make the cell, make it hard for these viruses to replicate so it don't cause so much damage to the system. But also, these things also are good for circulation, and they're antibacterial, antiviral. So garlic, for instance, is something that many people swear by, that they take on a daily basis, both as a supplement and as food, to reduce their platelet aggregation and to reduce them having thrombosis, deep vein thrombosis, and all these things. So this is something that you want to consider if you're already having inflammation to keep your blood flowing. And this is a natural way to reduce your dependence upon these dangerous high blood pressure medication and other things to reduce inflammation. Almost there. So notice here, I'm going to give you an example of how vitamin D is important. And as an example of one of these things that's important. Notice here, this is produced from the National Institute of Health, the effect of vitamin D on the expression of this enzyme in the cultured endothelial cell exposed to a diabetic-like environment. Notice from the extract, there's not giving the whole thing, there's part of it here. It says here, diabetes mellitus, DM, is the leading cause of end-stage kidney disease. Inflammation, fibrosis, coagulability, and oxidative stress exacerbate kidney disease, right? So you can see the problem there. The glycoprotein von Willebrand factor has a crucial role in platelet thrombosis or blood clot formation. The enzyme, which is stated there, ADAMTS13, not MS13, is responsible for von Willebrand cleavage. Both are important in the interface between diabetic neuropathy, hypercoagulability, and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Vitamin D inhibits endothelial proliferation. This is in glass now. Blunts angiogenesis and is a cardioprotective agent. So what does they say they're doing? They're going to read the conclusion. The conclusion that it normalizes the enzyme or the chemical there, the enzyme, by vitamin D may contribute to the improvement of the hypercoagulability. So that's the where the plates start to stick, they start to have blood clots. All these things start to happen. The vitamin D help keep the blood flowing in glass. That means this is still being worked out and figured out, and they need to do human trials on it to see if vitamin D decrease blood clots. Now, here's the thing. I remember I talked about an experiment, actually in person, research that was done by a doctor a few weeks ago, where he put his patients on vitamin D and changed nothing in them. So he did over 100 patients, no exercise, no change in diet, nothing. And they improved by a significant percentage just by having vitamin D when it comes on to high blood pressure. So very important to get your vitamin D primarily from the sun, and if need be, supplementation. So what is it doing? It's stopping let me read it again. It's stopping all of this action here, the coagulability of the system, because of vitamin D and other. It's basically it's good for the heart and for the coronary artery system, or for any cardiovascular disease. So what we need to do, we need to get regular to moderate exercise on a routine basis, so weekly. Don't smoke and avoid exposure to secondhand smoke as well. Use caution with chemicals. So when you're dealing with chemical, remember, if you inhaling evil chlorine, it's a powerful chemical. So sometimes you just need to put on a mask when you're doing certain things, if you're going to have to deal with chemicals like that. That's why, like, I'm looking right in the back, I'm looking at a 7th generation disinfectant wipe. So if you can get natural things to use in your house, you want to keep at a limit the things that are very, they're going to create oxidative stress or free radical. I think in the February, I think it was, somewhere, I think it was in Massachusetts, somewhere up north here, there was this thing called, this chain called Buffalo Wings or something like that. I think that's what it's named of the chain. It's like a yellow and brown building, and I see them over the place. And it's like a sport bar. And somebody, I think it was in one of those joints, somebody opened up some cleaner and got overwhelmed with it, and one person died from opening up the cleaner, some powerful chemical cleaners, and multiple people were sent to hospital. They had to shut the building down and bring in, I guess, people to deal with that type of chemical spill. Just from inhaling, it just knocked them out and killed them. It overwhelmed the system. So when you're dealing with it, don't just say, oh yeah, it's some household cleaners. Be careful. I didn't like what I was seeing on the television or on my computer screen, where they were just driving through towns and just spraying disinfectant everywhere to kill coronavirus, or fumigating everywhere. Because now what you do, you're exposing people to some dangerous chemicals that, you know, it will kill bugs, but it can kill you and I. So, and I remember years back, I was in, I think it's Kansas, and they were telling me that so many, we call them farmers, end up dying because they used to go in the field without the hazmat suit and spray the pesticide and the herbicide on the vegetables and the wheat and everything like that. And now many of them died of cancer because all that industrial chemical, they were just inhaling it and bathing in it, and it was causing them all kind of problem, lung problem, skin problem, reproductive problem. So this is oxidative stress that is on the system. And what we're talking about all the time, we're not talking about you just driving on the road and inhaling some stuff. We're talking about a lifestyle, something you do long term on a daily basis. And if you do that, now that same person who's been exposed to all these dangerous chemicals for farming, they get something like coronavirus and they drop it. And somebody say, oh, they have a cofactor. No, yeah, it's a cofactor, but it's the disease. The disease overwhelmed the system because the body was already overwhelmed by all these chemicals. So you use caution when you deal with chemicals. Don't say, what's the big deal? We are going to die one day. Yeah, but most people don't die one day. Most people die. Think about somebody with COPD. They could live 20 years and they can't breathe. Think about that. So it's like, yeah, we're going to die one day. Yeah, like die today, but I don't want to die 10, 20 years from now. I'm sick for the last 10, 20 years. What's the point of that? Every day I get up with a breathing, oxygen tank, waiting for somebody to light something around me and blow it up. So this is not what you want to do. You want to be able to be more careful with chemicals. So in your house, I think I say it there, the more environmental conscious is better for you. So in your house, be more environmental conscious. If you can use enamel, I think that is still safe. You can use glass. If you can use stainless steel, if you can use anything that is non-stick and stuff like that, a lot of these modern, you cut it out. If you can use glass, use stainless steel, use things that are not known or they ever been proven to be quite safe. Because the problem is not using it today. The problem is using it every day for the rest of the year and for the next 10, 20 years if life continues. What you're doing, you're concentrating all this pollutant inside of your body. So if you can have a filter in your house to filter the air, you filter the water, you make those precautions, because the problem, as I say, is not doing it for 1 week. Most of us, unlike those cases where somebody open up a disinfectant and it kills them, most of the time that's not going to be a problem. Most of the time it's deal with that disinfectant and it peel in your hand. I tell you the thing is dangerous. If you're using a thing and your skin is starting to peel off, what does that tell you? The thing is dangerous. So we need to be more cautious and more environmentally conscious. The more environmentally conscious, the better it is for you and I. As I say, if you can use the wipes that are made from thyme extract, which has been proven to be effective and not as dangerous on the environment, instead of using the wipes that's made from bleach, it's better, because what it is that you're not doing as much damage to yourself. And that's what we're talking about. If you can live in an area that you sleep at night, if you sleep at night, you're in an area that is near bus depots and you're inhaling all that, things that's coming out of the tailpipe of these diesel buses and stuff like that. Have a filter in your house. It's a requirement. As I say, I forbid you not to have a filter in your house if you live near one of those places. You're not serious about your health. It's worth spending $100 and something and getting a filter that's going to filter the air as you sleep, especially. But I can't forbid you. I can only suggest to you. But if I were you, I'd forbid you. I will not do it. I'm not living near no big polluted area and just be there abusing my lungs. The air must be clear. And we could keep talking about that, but we'll talk about that in the future. We're going to have to talk about that. Because I think many people believe, oh no, we can't be so environmentally conscious. You're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it, I can't change what I do out there unless I, go talk to my township people. But I can change what I do in here in my house. So minimum, be more environmentally conscious in your house. And when you deal with certain things, if you're going to inhale it a lot, just put on a mask. Just put on a mask. Put on gloves. Put on some gloves so that you don't strip your hand. Anything stripping your hand, tell me that's bad. It's destroying your body. We move on. Don't overdo it in the sun. Wear sunscreen. So you need to get the sun, but don't go fry yourself. Don't put on. I was reading online where back in the 80s and stuff, young people would put on Crisco. And I heard people talk about this, but I didn't know until I go read and I went to the forum and many people said used to do this. They'll put on Crisco, then they get aluminum foil and set it up so that they will concentrate the sun on them, and then they go roast. And many of these young people now, they're older now, they're dying of skin cancer. That don't make no sense, okay? So we don't want to go that far. You need sun, but you don't need to go roast yourself in Crisco. And Crisco again is to me it's an accident. Cut alcohol intake. When I mean cut, I mean cut it out, I should say. Knock it off. It's an antioxidant. It's an accident, sorry. Get plenty of sleep. So the more sleep, the better. They say you need to get about 7 to 8 hours of sleep when you're a younger person. As you get older, you need to get 9 hours worth of sleep. That's phenomenal. You hear that, Sister Tamara? You hear that? 9 hours. So we're getting old, so we need 9 hours worth of sleep. Avoid overeating like the plague. Stress reduction, very important to calm yourself down. So that's why the Bible says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. When you keep the Sabbath day holy, you have less stress. If you're sinning, it's very stressful to sin. And so you want to avoid all that stuff and just stop sinning, stop doing wrong. Just keep the Sabbath day holiness. If it's not holy, don't do it. You'll find that your stress will drop one day a week. It's like therapy. All right, so stress reduction, there's other ways. We can't talk about that right now. Last slide here I want to share with you before I go to any questions. If you have any questions, you can now post it to any of our various different areas, whether it be Facebook. You can text the church at 973-997-6855, Facebook, YouTube, church website. So here we go now. This was put up by the government. It's still up online. You can still see this, but I think they pulled it from their database. This is a list of oxygen radical absorption capacity. So this is a list of foods that the government had put out quite a few years ago, I think about 10 years ago or so. And it's still on YouTube. It's on Wikipedia, I should say. But if you go to, I think the government website is not there anymore. The reason why is because they still haven't done a test to see if it's absolutely true. All right, it's never been proven properly. But you have proven it, I've proven it. So I believe it's true. These numbers are true. Now, the top of the list, because what is oxygen radical? Remember, these radicals are the oxygen, and it burns, it destroys. And the foods we eat takes the hit for us so they don't damage our body as much. You get it? All right. So it absorbs the hit for us. So notice on the top of the list, 1 cup of prune is the highest amount. It's number 1 on the list. Now, why I believe it's number 1 on the list? Because, prune is a plum when it is dried, right? So I almost never refer to a prune as a plum. It's when its plum is dry. Okay. So why I believe this is, again, because I believe probably people got a better result from taking in 1 cup of, if you take 1 cup of prune, you're doing good. 1 cup of prune than if you did a cup of wild berries. Think about that. The berries will add the absorption capacity to take the hit. The prune will do some of that, but it will flush you out and you'll get more toxic relief from toxin. You get what I'm saying? You understand what I was yammering on earlier about that? You will get toxic relief because you're defecating more. It loosens up the stool. So if you bring me 100 random people here, and I give 50 of them wild berries, which is potent. I had some this morning. All right? I try to have this multiple times every week. I have pounds of it at home in my freezer. All right? So I believe in this. So I'm going to tell you, I believe in wild berries. Blueberries, I'm talking about. But if I gave 50 of the 100 people a cup of wild blueberries, and I gave 50 of the another 100 people, next 50, a cup of prunes, I believe the decrease in toxic load, the inflammatory marker, the increase in the reduction in oxidative stress, I believe it's possible that they'll get a better result, although the numbers are close when they come on to wild blueberries. It's only 1,000 difference when they come on to oral capacity. I believe that it will probably get more from the prune. You see why, right? Because when we are dealing, most of the time people are dealing with certain numbers, but they never think about body mechanism, how the body mechanically work. That if you have a stomach and your stomach is hurting you, You ever eat something that's not digested well, it didn't go well, and you start to even feel like bacteria is multiplying in your mouth, right? And the moment that thing come out, you just feel relief. Well, that's what prune is gonna do for you. So the prune is gonna give you some nutrients, but it's also gonna detoxify you. Remember, part of the whole idea of taking in these things in our body is to detoxify and to nourish. The prune is doing both. Now, I'm not saying the blueberries won't do both, but I just think because the prune has a powerful kind of laxative action, because there's sorbitol in it, and because the high fiber, and because it's very kind of slippery and mucilaginous, it's going to create a twofold effect. I think what it could end up being, he has an edge because of that, not because he has more nutrients per se. Because I believe the berries has more nutrients. So you can look it up, you see what I'm talking about. So you see the list there. I put the list up on the board. As Sister Tamara here put the list up on the board for me. You see that red kidney beans, pinto beans are part of, I've tested it. I've gone, I just say buck wild, just consuming high amount of pinto beans, red kidney beans, black beans, like in a week or two. And my skin sort of looked like I'm juicing. You could believe, I say, oh no, you've been juicing all week. And I'm like, no, I wasn't juicing all week. I was testing this list out. So I've tested this list. I can verify the government should have kept this list up. Sit on Wikipedia. You can say, go over there and see the list. Okay, that's where I pull it from. But I believe this list is solid. Because if you understand body mechanism, if you test it out, because what happened with beans, the kidney beans and those beans, they have the nutrients, the antioxidants, these phytochemicals in the skin. It'll take the hit for you, but also because it's so high in fiber, it'll flush you out. So you don't absorb that the toxin. Because remember, when you exercise, what it is, your heart starts pumping fast, your blood starts flowing, and the organs get flushed out faster, the blood gets flushed out faster. The whole process speeds up. When you eat and you sit down in a lazy chair, fall asleep, your whole system goes sluggish. So exercise will do it, juicing will do it, beans will do it, things like prune and stuff will do it because you keep flushing the system. Because remember, the more you move is the more life. Life is about movement, life is about growth, right? So the more you move, the more you have life. So this is what this type of stuff does. It gets your flow going. But if you add to this exercise, you drink water, you start to do something, you start to feel, you start to see. Because remember, the place to tell how good your organs is doing is always your skin and it's always in your face, because that's the place that is exposed the most to oxygen. It gets beaten up the most. So if you can make your skin look good here, the skin here going to be looking excellent. The skin on your buttocks going to be looking even better, right? Because it's not getting, the sun is not getting beaten up by oxidants. And so this is what you want to do. All right, so, and you see the list there. Apple, an apple a day will keep the doctor away, right? Cranberries, all this type of stuff. The blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. I have all of this morning. And some more. Some potato. You make some curry potato. God's going to bless you. And this is how we live in, and this is what we're going to live more like this, and this is what we're doing. So when you get hit with a disease like this, even if you get sick, you can be able to fight it off, and it's not going to do the damage. And this, as I say, is more important. I can't stress this enough. It's more important for you if you have either a high-paced lifestyle, if you're older, if you want to feel 10, 20, 30 years younger. If you want to feel like that, this is the way you need to be living. If you don't want to feel like that, you want to feel like, you know, your grandma or grandpa, then, you know, you live like grandma and grandpa, you eat like grandma and grandpa. But if you want to feel like you're alive and you want to take your second wind and you want to make the wind get in your sail, take some of those strawberries and cherries and raspberries and blueberries and blackberries, and you're going to be doing beautiful. So that's our presentation on oxidative stress. Next week, we're moving on to something else. So God bless you. Any questions? Any questions at this point? You can submit any questions. If not, Sister tomorrow will sing for us a closing hymn. Yeah, so next week we're going to talk about energy, right? So in the evening at 5 o'clock, join us back here. We're going to be going down and dealing with energy, how to boost your energy, how to feel vibrant. Look, this is going to boost your energy. I'm going to tell you. Get you bouncing off the wall here. No matter what your age. get it bouncing off the wall. In the context of your situation, as I say. But you're going to do better. Apples to apples, you're going to do way better if you follow. So come back and join us 5 o'clock. One more call for questions. If there's no questions, Sister tomorrow we'll go right in ahead and sing our closing hymn. May God bless you.
Our first question for the evening is coming from Facebook. Brother Diaz would like to know, you frequently mention giving up dairy, cheese, and milk products to deal with respiratory issues. But what about meat? Is it just as bad?
Well, if you remember last week, I'd read this quotation. Can't remember what presentation, because I'm talking all day, twice for the day. So where Ellen G. White and then this doctor, who I don't even believe is a Christian, from a scientific point of view, he says dairy is a food unfit for human consumption. And 100 years later to the date, Ellen G. White says dairy is a food that should not be put in the body. So dairy, she often says, when it comes on to certain problems, seem to be more dangerous than meat. So this is not taking away that meat is bad and going to cause cancer. Sometime in June, I'm going to be doing a very powerful presentation on how to overcome or deal with cancer. And so I'll deal with that issue here with meat, and I've already dealt with meat. But I'm just saying, when we're talking about 85% of African Americans cannot break down dairy. The countries that is the biggest eaters of dairy and anything to do with milk are the Scandinavian countries. And it's been linked to their highest percentage of, they have some of the highest percentage of infertility in the world. Similarly, in the Midwest, where many Scandinavian people left and they're high consumers of dairy, they have some of the highest rates of infertility. So when I say specifically asthma, I'm talking about asthma is dealing with the exchange, the free exchange of the oxygen that we're breathing, the fresh air that we're breathing, and how it gets, the oxygen get to the blood vessel. While dairy clogs any mucus and any things to do with like the lungs. So what many have found is that the moment, not everybody, the moment they get off dairy, it clears up. Unlike any other thing, it clears up their asthma and it reduces their allergies. So if your person suffers from allergy, they'll find many people who's even white, they'll eat the dairy and they might be able to digest it, but it messes up their asthma, their lungs. It messes up, it puts oxidative stress on it because it fills it up with mucus from the dairy. It pulls calcium from the body. It's just not food, especially cheese. So eliminating that will free up the lungs in a big way. I don't think nothing else I know in life can give, it's like a miracle cure for many, and I'm going to say everybody, to get them off dairy, especially cheese. And by doing that, just kind of scanning my brain here, make sure I answer it properly. So by doing that, you get a better result. So somebody could still eat dairy, but stop eating red meat, and they still have asthma. It's important. Now, again, probably going to need some herbs and some flushing to get the gunk that's in them out. But dairy is a glue. That's why they use dairy as casein glue. I'm saying it wrong. But the glue that make cheese pull, like in the cheese, where you buy the pizza and it pull, that's a glue that clogs up the bowl. And, imagine somebody with all that cheese in them and they have coronavirus, they go to the hospital, the cheese just stays in there and it's like a cork in their buttocks. It's not gonna work. You gotta unclog, and one of the first things to do is get rid of cheese, get rid of dairy. Dairy is for cows.
We have another question from YouTube. Brother Thompson would like to know how he should look after prunes, blend them and drink them. Could you share some serving suggestions for someone who would like to increase or start consuming prunes?
Right, so normally prune for the most part is eaten by itself as a snack. The only the ways that I've used prune, never try blending it. So that's a thought. I don't know if I would try blending it only because the prune will literally make you go to the bathroom more. So I've tried doing prunes in certain baked goods, and I've used prunes in certain raw preparation. but prune is not something I've experimented a lot with. So I do apologize. You'd have to ask somebody else as that. I don't know. Tamara, you have any answer for that? I'm not sure.
But you could also eat prunes either by themselves or in cereal,
Oh, that's a
whether
good point.
hot or cold cereal,
Oh, that's a good
or
point.
they could be baked into desserts or sweetbreads.
Right, yeah. So that's a good, but cereal, that would be a very, I didn't think about that one. That would be a very good way to use prunes if you're having a cereal, granola, whatever it is to use some prunes.
Follow-up question from Brother Diaz from YouTube. What's your take on using Clorox freely to clean in the home? Is it good?
Here's the thing with Clorox. Clorox has been tested for something like coronavirus. And most of the other type of things like the time base, I don't remember them being tested. I would say the thing with Clorox is there's been more and more reports that Clorox is becoming more disease resistant. So what I mean is a bacterial resistant. So more and more bacteria are overcoming it. So now they have to start doing a cocktail in certain places like hospital because they're so over you. Because remember, it's just a drugs. And so it is becoming, the diseases are becoming resistant to it. So that's a problem because anything you overuse like that, it's a chemical. The body, the virus, like it's the same thing with Roundup. The bugs are, not the bugs, the herbs like the dandelion and stuff are becoming resistant to it. So if you can minimize it or avoid it, do. Because remember, it's been proven soap and water is as effective as any of these other things. Because the soap removes it altogether. It suspends it and the water washes it away. So you can be as effective. Now, what it is a disinfectant. It doesn't replace cleaning. So a lot of time we substitute disinfecting for cleaning. And you clean and then if you need to, you disinfect. But you want to limit the use of any type of thing like that because it sometimes it's a mask for you not to clean properly. So I would say if you can use the natural stuff, use the natural stuff as much as possible. And you limit it or eliminate it altogether if you can. But you have to have some substitute. But I believe that when you use it, if you have to be locked in like a shower, and you're using it, and then it's going to be you're steaming out water to clean down the shower, and you're going to use Clorox. If you can, you either run the fan to evacuate the Clorox, but don't just freely expose yourself to antioxidants, or to oxidants. This is what I'm saying. So you limit it as much as humanly possible, and you limit it to what is needed to be disinfected. You don't need to disinfect. I almost never, only for a few instances, we use it in the kitchen. I just, you know what I mean? I don't try to use it around food and stuff like that. So you limit it. The only thing you really need is if you're cutting up meat and stuff like that. But other than that, you don't need that much disinfecting, and you can use something like the time-based cleaners that is been proven to be as effective. Now I know that not all of them have been tested against coronavirus, but for the most part in your house, you're not worried about coronavirus. You're just worried about cleaning the surfaces. And if you have another follow-up question, but I think that's how I would say it is. There's options out there, powerful options that are less toxic.
The follow-up to that is as far as inhaling it while you're using it.
Yeah, so I would say, again, you can tell. Well, I can tell because remember when I was younger and I used to eat dairy, I had an asthma problem. The moment I stopped eating dairy, I should clarify that to somebody. The moment I stopped eating dairy, I didn't have to do anything else. I just stopped dairy, my asthma disappeared. Never had it again. And then later on, I learned that most black people can't even digest milk. And I remember it would give me a stomach problem. So you really shouldn't. So for me, I think probably had scars or something like that for all the years of having other problems with lungs. And so for me, as Tamara said, I'm like the canary in the coal mine. If I inhale certain chemicals, I start coughing and stuff like that. Well, probably somebody else won't cough. You have to be really bad for like even Tamara to start coughing. So if I'm more sensitive to that thought because of that experience that I still have. So for me, I buy the 7th generation stuff and the various different stuff so that I don't inhale it. And if I have to use it in the shower or stuff like that, or to clean, which I just try to avoid it as much as possible. But if I do, I'm trying to limit my time. I sometimes come outside if I start feeling it build up in my lungs, and I'll come out, close the door, and take some fresh air, turn on the fan to exhaust and stuff like that. So over the years, I've limited my use of any of those powerful chemicals, and I buy more of the natural stuff because I just don't want to inhale it, because I just always think to myself, why do we feel it's okay to inhale all these toxic chemicals that they were built in the first place to kill people and to destroy the nervous system? So I try to avoid it like as much as possible. I use vinegar as a cleaner. I use the time-based cleaners. I use just other ones. And I'm not one to go around and spray or anything. I almost never use Clorox wipe. I just don't. I'll prefer use baby wipes than before I use Clorox wipe. And I use those too.
We have another question from the Covenant Advent website. Could you talk about leaky gut syndrome?
Not really. Most of these, I would have to be specifically like filling my head with that information to talk about. Because most of the stuff to do with leaky gut, Crohn's, irritable bowel syndromes, has to do with with just food and digestion of certain food. So other than, couldn't tell you what a specific herb to do, but the same protocol for digestion, which I'm gonna cover next month. So I think the third Sabbath of June, is what I have on my list here, I'm gonna do digestion. So at that point, I'll talk about irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, Crohn's disease, acid reflux, and how to deal with them. So most of what we're talking about here will deal with it, except for certain specific herbs and protocol, which I'll talk about then. It's not really in my head to talk about it like that. So leaky gut, I'll deal with it. So that's part of my list. Because some people having the disease, they're having vomiting and stuff like that. So in general, I'm just talking about diseases here, but most of the diseases, you deal with them the same way. You schedule your eating, you deal with stress, you eliminate things with vinegar, you eliminate fast food, as I say, no vinegar under no condition. You deal with certain spicy food, never eat black pepper, it can't be broken down by the body. And you just do things that cannot be digested, and then you put antioxidant in your system to repair the system, because oftentimes what the system is not doing is repair itself. So that's just my generic answer. High amount of like things that are going to be calm in certain teas. Just me pulling from my mind what I will cover in that time. So anything that's going to heal the system, that's going to be mild on the system, and that's going to make your body repair faster. And you can tell whenever you repair, you're going to see it in your face. So, yeah, so not anything more specific than that.
And those are all our questions for this evening.
All right, God bless you, everyone. Really appreciate you coming by here and having this type of discussion and conversation on health. As I say, next month, serious lineup again on health. Next week, Sabbath, as Sister Tamara come out, we're going to do in the AY program in the afternoon at 5. So it's a more youth-orientated program. But then at the next 3 weeks, we're going to do digestion. We're going to do energy, digestion, and cancer. We're going to close off the month with a big one of the, what they call the incurables. We're going to be hammering that one out. So energy, digestion, cancer is our lineup for next month. By God's grace, we're going to fight that battle then. So as I say, oxidative stress, you can do this. You just have to have a reconfiguration of how you eat, what you eat, and how you approach it. And what is going to happen? Your brain going to do better. Your whole body's going to do better. You're going to feel younger. You're going to look younger. And you're going to be less stressed out. This is what we want. So God bless. Looking forward to spending next Sabbath with you again, when we'll do this all over again.
Happy Sabbath again. Please take your hymnals and turn to hymn number 309. Hymn number 309. Our closing hymn for the evening will be I Surrender All, hymn number 309. please bow your heads for our closing prayer. Dear kind Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the Sabbath that we've spent. Thank you for the blessings we've received from the Sabbath school to the divine service to this closing presentation on health. Lord, as we just sang, I surrender all. I ask that you will make it all of our prayers, Lord, that we surrender to thee in every aspect of our life, not just from keeping thy law, but Lord, also keeping your laws of health. And I ask, Lord, that you might give us the strength to put away those things that we know are damaging to our health, and that you will also help us to be more lively and energetic in searching out those things, Lord, that we should do to enhance our health. I ask that you might help us to put into practice the things we've learned this evening, and that you will continue to lead us and guide us in thy truth. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you for your kind attention and your participation online. I pray that the Lord will richly bless you through the remaining moments of this Sabbath, and that he will lead you and guide you in this upcoming week. Thank you again for joining. Blessed week.